You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a professional motivational speaker, Nancy can assist you to blow through your setbacks and start living full out. If you have an inspirational story you want to share, email us at connect@livingfullout.com. Once again, here's Nancy.
Hello and welcome to the Living Full Out Show. My name is Nancy Solari, and today we're talking about learning how to receive love. And that can actually be in personal relationships, but also in your career. Remember, people are always looking there to support you as well. So how do we turn our love receivers up? How do we do that? Also, I want to make sure that you stay with us. Rita Bliven is going to be our inspirational guest coming up in our next segment, sharing with us about how in her early years, she was the kid of an international kidnapping. But how did that affect her ability to connect with her family and other relationships through her life? So it's really going to open some doors to how you might look at some friendships in your own life. Also, I want to make sure that if you want to hear today's show again or any of our episodes, make sure you go to the App Store. Just look for the Living Full Out Show app. It's free and you can listen to us on the go. And I am getting word right now from our producer that we do have a listener on the line. Let's go check in with them. Hello, welcome to the Living Full Out Show.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. How can I help you?
Yeah, I had a question for you. So I started working for this company 2 years ago through a referral of a friend that works there. I did get hired, and we are actually on the same team. We share the same director. There's been some talk recently of her taking on the manager position, and she would basically oversee our team, which would include overseeing, managing myself. I'm just a little worried about this change, and my question to you is, how do you navigate a professional friendship relationship with somebody who could potentially become your boss?
Wow, that is a really good question. And actually, I guess my wanting clarity back to you is just if you look at just your friendship, would you say that she is kind and understanding? Would you say that you are kind of the one that's the driver just as friends? Or do you feel like she's more of the driver and in some ways kind of has a little bit more power strides than you? Where in just the friendship, what does that look like?
No, we have been friends, and I will say not close friends, just friends through other friends. We've always been that way. We have a lot of respect for each other, and there's nobody taking on a leadership role on the friendship side.
Okay, so on the friendship side, you're both balanced. It's not one way or the other. Okay. And, one of the things that you might boldly do is before she gets this position, before she accepts the role, and it has no impact on her accepting it, but I would have a little bit of a conversation, and I would just, because again, she will be technically your boss. She will be technically your manager. Okay. And again, she may be in the very moment that you and I are having this conversation, she may be sitting at a table with someone going, how am I going to be her manager? How am I going to give her, constructive feedback? What if I need to tell her something that isn't good news? So for all you know, she's having her own stresses about it. And what I would do is I would kind of pull that Band-Aid off early, like address that elephant in the room early. Now, it doesn't impact the fact that once she takes the role, and, it is what it is. I mean, if she's got to give you feedback, she's got to give you feedback, right? But I think just early on, if I were in your shoes, I would, get together, and it's not like you're asking for special concessions. It's not like you don't want her to get the promotion. All of that is good, but you might just say, hey, listen, before this new turn of the page happens, I just want you to know that, we will always be us. I will always respect you. And I know, and almost like you're almost wanting her to talk. I think if you could get her to talk. That would be kind of interesting to find out. So you might say, just I'm curious, how do you feel about this promotion? See what she says.
Yeah.
Or, and because you might gain insight as to whether she's like, yes, I've been waiting for this my whole life, and, get ready. I'm going to be telling you what to do. I don't think that's her route, but you know what I mean?
Well, we're very much, we're teammates today. We work as a team together.
Mm-hmm.
We support the same, we basically mirror each other. And since I've come on board, we're so strong together. And I think that's my biggest concern, is that might change. And I don't want that to change.
Have you considered saying that to her?
No, nothing yet, because it might not even happen. I just know that there's some talk about it. So I haven't really said anything, just that I'm just a little worried. That's all.
Well, and let me ask you a real quick question, because what's holding you back from saying that in this early stage?
I guess I just haven't had the right time to do that, or how to sit down with her about it. And she has been vocal about the fact that, when I get this job, this is, and it's not about me, it's about somebody else on the team. So there's been a lot of chatter from her end a little bit,
Well,
so it's kind of like walking a thin. I just don't want to overstep, and I don't want to say anything I'm going to regret, right?
but what you just said to me, which I think was really beautifully said, you said we make such a great team, we make such a good team, and that you respect her and that you work so well together. I mean, again, I would just, it's a lot easier to have that conversation now than when she
She's
actually
bossy,
gets the role.
Say.
See, okay. Well, see, that's what I was asking you earlier, And so because she is a little bit bossy, and there is a little bit more of that power there on her side.
On the professional side, exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That is why you're hesitant. So see, you're not really communicatively equal, because she's bossy and you're not, but you work well together, right?
Yeah.
So I can see why now you're intimidated. But at the same time, you want to just take a few days to think about it, but you want to ask yourself, what would be worse? Because you got two options. Actually, you got three options. Number one, you say nothing. She gets the job, nothing changes, boom. However, number two, she gets the job, you already knew she was kind of bossy now, and she becomes more bossy, and you say, I wish I had the conversation. Number three, she doesn't get the promotion. She stays your kind of bossy equal, but you did have the conversation, but she never got the promotion. So do you see how 2 out of 3 lean towards saying something?
Saying something, yeah.
Okay. It's only in the third one where you don't say something, my fear is you might regret. Now, I don't think you need to say much. In fact, less is more. So when you have lunch with her, when you're in a conversation, almost seed it a little bit. So, do you think you're going to get the promotion? Let her talk. So, how do you think this will change our friendship? Let her talk.
Yeah.
There might be a time when you have to give me feedback. Is that going to be stressful for you? Let her talk. So almost you say less, she says more. That will give you a lot of insight.
Yeah, you're right.
So I know it's tough. I would just kind of, let it stir around a little bit. But until you actually do this and have this conversation, I think the worry is going to get the better of you. And it's hard to be living full out in life. It's hard to live in this place of worry. So the sooner you can actually just have that friend-to-friend conversation, and again, you don't even have to say anything. You're just seeding the conversation to see where her mind is.
Yeah, and I know myself. I'm going to dwell on this until I actually have a conversation with her. So I think, like you said, sooner than later is probably a good thing.
You got this. You got this. Yeah, you can do this. And then report back. Let us know how it goes. But we believe in you. You will do great, and your friendship will be better for it. Just let her do all the talking, okay? But thank you so much for calling in. And for everyone else listening, we are going to be coming right back with Rita Bliven. Again, an international kidnapping. What does that even look like, feel like? And how did she turn out to be so delightful today? Can't wait to meet her. Talk soon.
Life looks a little different. During these times, we're doing our best to keep our minds and bodies strong. And getting a flu shot helps us stay healthy, so we don't miss out on what matters. Like having game night at home. Yeah, can't do that while sick with the flu. Now imagine family movie night that your daughter can't live without. Well, that's ruined. And don't forget your uncle's socially distanced cookout. See, that's why it's important to be at our strongest. Every year, millions of people in the U.S. get the flu. Especially now, no one has time to miss out on moments that matter. So get your flu shot. Find out more at getmyflushot.org. Brought to you by the AMA, CDC, and the Ad Council.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
Stop. That dog does not want to be petted.
Just a little heads up before something bad happens.
Move your coffee cup away from your computer.
Oh, no.
So you can have more control.
Stop. You're texting your boss by mistake.
Uh-oh. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Warning. The cap is loose on that ketchup.
Ugh. Don't wait. You have the power to change the outcome. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Watch out! You got me!
The galaxy is safe once again.
In the pretend universe, kids play with pretend guns. In the real world, it's up to us to make sure they don't get their hands on a real gun. If you have a gun in the house, keep it locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a life coach, Nancy can teach you how to stay strong under pressure and work through challenges you face. Being legally blind, Nancy inspires others to be resilient in overcoming obstacles and live full out. You can ask Nancy for advice in your life on relationships, finance, business, health, and more. Just call in at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. Now, here's Nancy.
Welcome to the Living Full Out Show. My name is Nancy Solari, and today we're talking about learning how to receive love. And how do you do that when you don't even know how to let it in? Well, our inspirational guest today, Rita Bliven, is a great example of how to weather that storm and lean on faith and trust your instincts and find your way to letting love in. And I don't want to give her whole story away before I welcome her. So, Rita, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. And your story starts obviously from when you were really, really, really young and, memories that you probably don't even fully remember. But your parents, when they met at a kitchen and restaurant and whirlwind romance. Your mom was originally from Pennsylvania, but then moved to California. Your dad was originally from Mexico, but again, he too found himself in California. And amongst that romance, and I'm a sucker for romance, so I'm all in on how they came together. That sounds just storybook. And they had you. I mean, what's better than that? But your dad obviously found himself in hard times dealing with alcohol and drugs and worried about custody of you. And within him, he decided to make a decision. And his sister, who was your nanny when you were younger as well, he took you, your sister, and he went to Mexico, basically kidnapped you. I can't imagine, Rita, what that was like for your mom. I mean, I don't even know where one would start to try to find you.
It was very difficult for her, and it was the early 80s, and the laws were very different. She hired a private investigator and went to the authorities and was basically told that my father had the right to take me out of country because he was my biological father, and there was really nothing that she or they could do.
And I mean, I think about, I feel like all in the news I hear about a lot of kids that get kidnapped or abducted or just vanish. And so I can only imagine how scary that was. Although your mom is really smart and she did what she did best. She was a really good writer, and she got great advice to write a letter to your dad, a love letter. And somehow that love letter made it to him, and he did come back. And when he came back, what happened next? Because it's a little bit of a tug-of-war between your parents at that point.
Mm-hmm. So my mother did send my father a love letter to his mother's house, the only address that my mother knew in Mexico. And my grandmother eventually got it to my father. And he did come back to California with me for a visit. Now, my mother did not know this, and I learned this later in life, that my father had a lot of pressure from his family to return me to my mother and my country. They're very conservative, and they believe that a child should be with their mother. And my father was thinking that he would satisfy his family's requests and then also possibly get back together with my mother and regardless have visits with me. But my mother had other plans.
Mm-hmm. Again, your mom is smart, but she did love your dad. So I want everyone in the audience to know there was a lot of love between them. But your mom made her own bold decision. What did she do?
In the cover of night, she fled. She rallied her friends, and they helped her go back to her hometown across the country in Pennsylvania, and she changed my name and took every effort to protect me from my father ever taking me to Mexico again, because I was actually with him in Mexico for 2 years, where I had no communication or contact with my mom or her side of the family.
Now, what's a little bit heartbreaking here is, your parents were young. She didn't really have a lot of money. That's why she needed the support to get back to Pennsylvania. But he equally didn't have a lot of money. It's not like he was about to take off and find you in Pennsylvania. So this became a journey where you wouldn't see your dad for many, many, many years. And there were times, though, and your mom obviously got remarried, and you had had a older brother from her prior marriage, and then she got remarried and had more kids. So you had siblings. But what was it amongst all those siblings? What made you still feel disconnected?
Well, for starters, my siblings were all blonde-haired and blue-eyed, and because I had a Mexican father, I looked very different. And because I lived in Mexico from the time that I was about a year old to 3 years old, I developed Spanish as my first language. And so when my mother got me back and took me to Pennsylvania, I had to learn English. And my first memories are actually of being surrounded by people that I wasn't familiar with, that didn't speak my language, and I remember having to learn English. So there were some distinct signals that I had gone through something different than the normal upbringing, and I looked and talked and had some different behaviors than the rest of the family that I was growing up with from that point on.
And even though your mom had changed your name from Margarita, what you were born with, to Rita, your school, your teachers would still call you out on the roll sheet, Margarita. I mean, it must have been kind of confusing not really having that true identity.
It absolutely was. So yes, my name did get changed, but not in time for school registration. So the first day of school every year, I had some explaining to do. And for a young kid, that's a lot. And it was a lot for me, and sometimes it was a positive experience, and sometimes it was a negative experience, but it was just one more thing that alienated me from the quote-unquote normal childhood experience.
Well, and amongst your, adolescent, teen years into your 20s, you had been reached out to by your dad, but, at one point you were just about to start your adult life, and the timing wasn't good for you to open that chapter, even though you'd always wanted to meet them. But as your story unfolds, you do meet your dad. You do meet more of his family. And you do start to realize, wow, I am loved. And I want everybody to really lean in when we come back from this next break, because I believe that although her story is unique to the kidnapping and then, finding out who she was over time, her own identity, I think we all go through that. We all go through times where, we just want to be loved. We want to know where we came from. We want to feel that stability. So, Rita, stay with us. There's more to come in your story. And for everybody today, we are talking about, learning how to receive love. But how do you do that when there's so much confusion, when there's so many truths and lies and everything in between? Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Today in school, I learned a lot. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me. In English, I learned that I'm disgusting. And in physics, I learned that I'm a loser.
Today in school, I learned that I'm ugly and useless. And in gym, I learned that I'm pathetic and a joke. In history, I learned that I'm trash.
Today in school, I learned that I have no friends. In English, I learned that I make people sick. And at lunch, I learned that I sit on my own because I smell. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me.
In biology, I learned that I'm fat and stupid. And in math, I learned that I'm trash.
The only thing I didn't learn in school today.
The only thing I didn't learn today.
The only thing I didn't learn
is why no one ever helps.
Kids witness bullying every day. They want to help, but they don't know how. Teach them how to stop bullying and be more than a bystander at stopbullying.gov. A message from the Ad Council.
I'm Nancy Solari, certified life and business coach. I want to invite you to the Personal Development Boot Camp. During the boot camp, we're going to be looking at taking those insecurities that you have and getting rid of them. We're also going to look at ways in which you can thrive and live a life full of purpose. Go to livingfullout.com/bootcamp, livingfullout.com/bootcamp to sign up. I believe in you, and here's to you living your life full out.
They'll challenge your authority. They'll try to break your will. They'll push you to the edge of your sanity. Because that's what kids do. But this car is your territory, not theirs. Defend it. Who makes the payments? Who cleans it? Who drives it? You do. That's who. And in here, your word is law. So when you say you won't move until everyone's buckled up, you won't budge an inch. Until you hear that click. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. For more information, visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.
7 million children suffer from asthma, more than any other chronic disease. Most asthma attacks are caused by allergic reactions to allergens, including those left behind by cockroaches and mice. In fact, 82% of U.S. households contain mouse allergens, and cockroaches are found in up to 98% of urban homes. How can you protect your family? Find out at pestworld.org. A message from the National Pest Management Association and the American College of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. Talk to doctor now and share it.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it twice a day.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it in the morning and before dinner.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it, and share it with my doctor. Nearly 1 in 2 U.S. adults have high blood pressure. That's why it's important to self-monitor your blood pressure in 4 easy-to-remember steps. It starts with a monitor.
Now that I know my blood pressure numbers, I talked with my doctor. We're getting those numbers down.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. Talk to doctor now and share it.
Be next to talk to your doctor about your blood pressure numbers. Get down with your blood pressure. Self-monitoring is power. Learn more at manageyourbp.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Heart Association, and the American Medical Association. In partnership with the Office of Minority Health and Health Resources and Services Administration.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. With Nancy's expertise, you'll learn how to embrace your potential and strive for success. If you have a question or need further support, send us an email at connect@livingfullout.com. Now, here's Nancy.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Nancy Solari, and this is the Living Full Out Show. And today we're talking about learning how to receive love. And we're jumping back into our interview here with Rita Bliven, who is sharing with us beyond being kidnapped as a little girl and the kind of the back and forth between her parents. You know, how did she finally learn how to love? So I'd like to welcome Rita back to the show.
Thank you.
So, Rita, over time, you know, teenage years, 20s, you know, you longed and wondered about your dad's family. You'd been reached out to in the early years, you know, but timing wasn't right. And then one day, as you were a nanny for a family and you had your own, you know, 20-something stresses going on, we've all been there, right? Just paying for this and paying for that. Your dad shows up and just awkward lunch. It just wasn't the best first meeting. That moment in time comes and goes. You find yourself leaning a lot on faith. It was faith and prayer that started to crack doors for you of getting a car and getting a stable place to live and getting a job. And And then finally, over time, you get a call from your Uncle Nathan on your dad's side. And that really was the first visit that kind of kicked off this new love for that family. Can you share with us why that visit, your dad, Uncle Nathan, the family coming to see you on the East Coast, why was that so momentous?
For starters, I was a little bit more mature, and I had grown in my inner healing journey. I was engaging in my faith and counseling, and so I was just a little bit more equipped to explore a relationship with that side of the family. But the main thing was that my uncle and his wife and his nephew just created an atmosphere for my father and I to connect. My father was very nervous, and he was more himself around his family. And it wasn't just me with my quote-unquote stranger father, but it was me meeting my other family. And so it was the combination of all those things that I was able to put my guard down and really connect and see that there was so much value and love there to explore.
And that new love for that family actually, over more time, had you go to Mexico, meet more of them. And when you started to meet more of that family, you actually came away from that trip feeling lonely. And you had learned about a term called avoidance attachment disorder through all your counseling. But what is the connection between that disorder and the loneliness you felt coming back from Mexico to North Carolina?
My non-clinical explanation is that the trauma I experienced as a very young child caused me to have extreme internal walls or defense mechanisms up. So much so that I never really felt lonely in my entire life. I may have had previews of loneliness, but I never truly felt lonely. And it wasn't until I actually connected with love and connected with my family, and also in turn connected with myself through my family, that when I came back from that trip, it was the first time I truly felt loneliness, because it was the first time I had truly felt love. And so it was a very healing thing, but also somewhat confusing because it was also painful.
Well, it sounded like a tidal wave, really, because now you're like, oh my gosh, I missed out on all this time with my dad's amazing family. And then to actually be able to look at even your mom's side of her family and maybe see how you could have spent that time differently. Now, today, again, your story went on and on and on, like so many twists and turns we all have. You did end up meeting Rob, and you got married, and he had a daughter from a previous relationship, so you're a stepmom. What is it like to now have your own family? I mean, now it's almost like you're swimming in family. You've got dad's family, mom's family, your family. I mean, you went from being someone who avoided, had this attachment disorder, to now being abundant in love.
It's wonderful. It's definitely worth the pain and the ebbs and flows of the inner healing journey. I would say that I wouldn't be able to enjoy a healthy marriage or a healthy relationship with my stepdaughter had I not walked through the ups and downs of inner healing. And so I'm just abundantly grateful that I had my faith and my support system, as well as professional help, get me to this point so that I could live the life that I'm enjoying now. Because, not to sound cheesy, but the greatest thing on earth really is love, and it's really sad to not be able to engage in the love that's available to you.
Now, do you think you could have got through this twist and turns, the loneliness, without your faith?
No, I don't. And I'm sure there are some people who do, but for me, there was a foundation of love issue in my life, and faith expedited the creation of a strong foundation. I think perhaps without faith, it would have taken decades longer, but my faith was able to supernaturally give me a foundation of love to then build upon with people.
Now, not everyone has been through the journey that you have with the kidnapping and all that and the back and the forth and having family in different countries. But there are a lot who have gone through adoption, and you were adopted by your stepdad, your mom's third husband. You can probably most definitely identify with those who have been in the foster system. So for somebody listening today who, as you have said, you felt like your love receiver was broken, for somebody who feels that way, what do they do if they feel like, well, mine's broken and I don't have faith? I'm not where you are.
That's a loaded question because, again, for me, it did start with faith. My faith is all about love. So Jesus so loved the world, so he gave his only begotten son. But I would say I think every single person, even if it's not as much love as they want or desire, has someone in their life that loves them. And so I would just start with the love that you do have and nurture it and grow and build from there. For me, it was faith and the love of God that allowed me to expand into other areas. But if you don't have faith, I'm sure there's someone who loves you. If it's a foster parent, if it's a neighbor, a teacher, whatever the case may be, start there.
What level of forgiveness has needed to be required within you to get to this place? Forgiveness of your dad, forgiveness of your mom, forgiveness maybe of yourself early on for not meeting the family sooner, because I know we're all teenagers, right? We all are busy, right? Mm-hmm. What did that look like for you to get to where you are today?
It's as huge as love. Love is the main thing, and forgiveness is a very, very close second. It is impossible to love without forgiveness because people are imperfect. And my parents did what they did, but they were extremely uneducated and had very limited resources, and they were just doing the best that they could. But it had a devastating effect on my life for quite a few years. And it's impossible to move past that without plain old, good old-fashioned forgiveness.
Now, you are starting to finally write your own story, right? Your story has been pieced together over time. And again, now you have your own family. So what does living full out mean to you? If for the first time the love doors are open, the love receiver is not broken, you've been able to harness forgiveness. I mean, one would almost say life is perfect, although we know life is never perfect, right? But what does living full out mean to you?
It really does mean prioritizing relationships above everything else. So again, for me, the most important thing is my relationship with God. But then secondly is my relationship with others, and then my relationship with myself. And materialism will try to get in the way of that. Strife, envy, stress, distractions, even once you walk through an inner healing journey to get your love receiver fixed, even just being a normal person whose love receiver is fine, still has all of these pulls to distract against relationship. And for me, the abundant life, or living full out loud, as you say, is just constantly redirecting back to relationship and healthy relationship and engaging in love and engaging in forgiveness and engaging in communication with God, myself, and others.
I love that. Well, I mean, you truly, Rita, are the big winner. I mean, it may not have seemed that way every step of the way, like, I mean, all the unknowns and, again, just the search, right? The search for who you are, the search for your family. But I'm so proud of where you've landed today. And thank you so much for sharing your story. I know there's so much to it. And everybody, you can find out more depths of her story by searching her online. Thank you so much, Rita, for sharing today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you and the work that you do.
Thank you. And for everybody listening, just like Rita, every story has a purpose, and we really want you to reach out to us. You can contact us at connect@livingfullout.com. Let us know what you went through, how you got through it, what you learned. Of course, give us your contact information, and we will reach out to you and ideally have you on the show as an inspirational guest, because we're all in this journey together and we learn from each other. Not every situation is exactly the same, but the nuggets of inspiration we can share can help us see that light at the end of the tunnel. So again, we're going to be coming right back today. It is about learning how to love. We'll be back.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with a sun protection factor, or SPF, of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. UVA rays age the skin, UVB rays burn, and both cause cancer. But the perfect sunscreen doesn't count if you use it wrong. Don't need sunscreen on a cloudy day? Wrong. 80% of UV rays still get through the haze. Only use sunscreen at the beach? Nope. Anytime you're outside, UV rays attack the skin, so you need protection. And you have to reapply sunscreen every 2 hours. Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equal healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I gotta tell you, I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad we are.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and life experiences come together through conversation, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so...
Interesting?
Yeah.
When people actually sit down, talk, and listen to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep, you can listen to amazing, life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together by having the courage to start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
When it comes to learning how to love, enjoy the process. It's not easy every time. You've got to have patience. You've got to have understanding. You've got to be forgiving. But at the end of the day, a strong, healthy relationship, people you can depend on, being a supporter for them and them equally for you, that really is what the game of life is all about. So I want you to go out there today, turn that love meter up and live full out.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a professional motivational speaker, Nancy can assist you to blow through your setbacks and start living full out. If you have an inspirational story you want to share, email us at connect@livingfullout.com. Once again, here's Nancy.
Welcome back. I'm Nancy Solari, and this is the Living Full Out Show. And today we've been talking about learning how to love. And how do you do that when you feel disappointed, right? I mean, people will let us down. Sometimes it feels like love is for everybody else, but you're going in circles and you can never find it. You know, the thing is, with anything in life, if you make it a big mountain, if you make it hard, it will be. If you look at that not as a mountain, just a speed bump in life, you'll roll over it. Or if you look at it like, not a challenge that you can't get over, around, under, then you take the power away from it. And that is very, very true in relationships. When I think about in my life, let's just say love relationships, they haven't all been perfect, right? There's been twists and turns, and I'm sure I've even thrown my hat in the ring of playing a part in why some haven't worked out. But one of the things I choose to do and have chosen over time is to, when I've said to somebody over the years, I love you, right? And the romance of it all, whether the relationship lasts a week or 7 years, when I tell someone I love them, I mean it. You got to stand by those words. I always find it kind of interesting when someone's like, I love you, but now I hate you. I wish you weren't around, right? It's okay to fall out of love with someone. It's okay to kind of put them in a chapter of your life and to acknowledge that maybe you've grown beyond them. Maybe they've changed. But to diminish and to ignore the fact that you ever loved them at all, well, now you're actually souring your words, your integrity. So I would much rather say, you know what? I did love that person. I told them I loved them. I meant I loved them. And things changed. But I still love that person. In that moment in time, that person I love. The person of today, maybe not as much, right? So it's how you narrate your life. It's how you quantify those moments in time. So rather than throwing hate at somebody, just say, hey, I loved who they used to be, who I fell in love with, but today it's just different. They're different. I'm different. Same goes for whether you're talking about a job. You might say there's plenty of people that I coach that loved their initial career, and over time, they didn't love it as much. Example being a coaching client I have right now, she used to be a teacher. She used to love teaching. But along the way, rules changed. Demands became more. And it wasn't so much about just being a teacher and being able to help students have that light bulb moment. It became about, a lot of opinionated parents and school rules. And so she fell out of love. But she will still say today, because we've helped her get through this, she loves teaching. And she'll always be a teacher. But today, actually, you'll never believe this, she's actually in real estate. she now loves real estate. She's not a full-blown realtor. She doesn't have all those demands, but she supports a broker and is able to show properties and really allow herself to bask in her other love of design. And again, just all that comes with making a home a home. And so I think sometimes we have to look at not making our whole life one gigantic chapter, but narrating different chapters of your life. And so when we talk today about love, maybe you define love differently. You know, who you were as a little boy, a little girl. You know, I used to love certain things that I don't love now. I used to love swimming in the ocean. But when I saw Jaws at 10, gulp, I don't love swimming in the ocean as much now. I know that one time I go there, you know, Jaws will be there waiting for me. I know it sounds silly, but we can love things when we're younger and love them a little less when they're older. And so I want you to leap away from today recognizing that things that you've loved in your life are still there. You can still say you love them. But the exciting thing about life is it's ever moving, it's ever growing. You know, I look at my life and I say to myself, I'm still open to love, right? I choose to be open to it, whether I'm watching a Hallmark on TV, going on that date with sweaty palms, or whatever that may look like. I also really love being here with you, right? And it's interesting, I don't know if you all know this or not, but when I do these shows and I meet these guests, you know, there's a certain amount of energy that goes into really learning their stories. But I love telling people stories. I love giving them that platform, that voice. It comes with long hours, a lot of time, a lot of dedication, but I love it. So today, turn that love meter up. If you're saying to yourself, I don't know how to love, you know what? Give me a call. Turn to somebody in your life that is really good at love and let them help you turn that love meter up, because I don't want you to miss a thing. That's what Living Full Out is all about. Thank you so much for listening today, and we stand beside you every step of the way in your journey. Make sure you go to the App Store, check out the Living Full Out Show app, listen to us on the go. Most of all, go out there, live full out. Always remember to have fun. It's worth it. See you soon.
Thank you for listening to the Living Full Out Show with Nancy Solari. To learn more about this program, visit livingfullout.com for the latest episodes. Connect with the Living Full Out community by following us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and subscribing to our YouTube channel. Here's to you, Living Full Out.